Hi, everybody. We are starting on time. How are you doing? This is Kate Titus from A Loyal Companion. Welcome to the book launch. Super excited about this. Obviously, I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. So ready to get started celebrating with everybody. I've got my most important people here with me today. My wife Kathy's right over there. You can see Kalua's moving in the background a little bit there. We've got Mr. Half Moon, and Helen's around here somewhere causing problems. So we're excited and ready to get going. Thank you so much for joining me. It's 2, 3, or 4 or 5 o'clock across the country. So thanks for taking some time to be with me today. Looks like we've got about 40 people online already. That's great. We're happy to have you here, and looking forward to a very good afternoon. So let me get started a little bit. I just want to welcome folks. Yep, hi Jeannie, welcome, thanks. Glad Marvin and Tammy are here. If you'd like to say hi, everybody, please feel free to just type in a comment. I'd love to acknowledge folks when they join me. It's hi Karen and Lucy, good to see you. Karen was one of my reviewers of Sit Stand Go, so it's nice to see Karen joining me. So it's been a great day, great week. Really excited to see the emotion finally hit the light of day. Dawn and Margaret, hi Peggy, how are you doing? Hey Eli, so many folks. Thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Karen and Ziggy, hi Irene and Frankie, saw you this morning. Good to see everyone. Wow, this is great. Autumn, I hope you saw Tuki's picture in the opening. Glad to have you here. So many great folks. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us. It's like I said, this has been a long time coming. The way publishing world works, this book's been done since April, I think. So I've been waiting for everything to get done and get published so we can get this information out to the world. Oh, hi Eden and Achilles and Mona and Cash, good to see you. Oh, Susan and Jack, that's awesome. Hi everybody. There's Forrest and River and Haley. Good to see you all. Just swam with a couple of you yesterday. Want to remind everybody or let everybody know that for those of you who registered on the site, I'm going to be sending out a PDF of our history builder. It's a form that was in Sit Stand Go, but I think it's really appropriate right now, as most of us can't go into the vet's office right now with our dogs. So the history form allows you to really lay out what's going on with your dog, why you're here, the questions you have, mobility issues that you're seeing. There's a pain scale on there as well. So you'll all be receiving that in your email box, probably in the next 2 hours, hopefully. Go back to saying hi. Hi, Susie and Elaine and Dante. Oh yeah, there's there's Kristen and Marie. Hi guys, good to see you. Barb and Oliver, a big poodle who just loves to swim. Fantastic. Pat and her crew. Anna and her crew. Awesome. It's great to see you. Hi, Tony. And Jackie, my next door neighbors. You can't go wrong without your next door neighbors being at your party, right? So this has been a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying this virtual book launch. I think it's the world's worst kept secret that I'm actually quite shy, so this is a whole lot easier. It's kind of hard to be a wallflower when you're the one that's supposed to be walking around saying hi to everyone. So this makes it a little bit easier on me. So hi Jaldi and Val. Jaldi is one of the stories that was in my book that's coming out, that's out right now, actually. I keep saying it's going to be coming out when, oh my God, it's out. So pretty exciting. Oh, good. We've got one of the decomp dogs from PAC is joining us as well. That's fantastic. That's awesome. I think Kathy's going to grab me a charging cord because my tracking pad's about done. So That's one of the benefits. This is not CNN. So it's in my office on my desk. So she's going to go run and grab that for me. Thank goodness everybody knows that I'm pretty casual. And you all forgive me for that. So, well, I wanted to explain a little bit about what today's about. Obviously, this is the launch for Emotion to Motion. This book, the digital version of the book is out. It's available on Amazon right now. It came out on Tuesday. And it's the print version will be coming out late October 20th. So we're going to celebrate the digital version now. You're going to have an opportunity later in the launch to pre-order copies if you want them signed. If you don't want them signed, that's okay too. You can order them from me or you can order them from Amazon, either way. This book, Emotion to Motion, is book number 2 in the Loyal Companion guides. And it was a labor of love, absolutely. I really enjoyed writing this book, and I really hated writing this book because I wanted it to be as perfect as possible. It's such an important topic, and it's something that I hear from folks all the time. They don't understand why is my dog hesitating? He won't jump in the car anymore. He won't get on the bed. He won't get on the couch, or he won't walk across the kitchen floor to get a drink of water. So what's really happening there? And it was a question that I had because I knew they weren't doing it for reasons that were physical. There was obviously some pain there, and they just weren't working it. It wasn't happening at all. So figuring out the answer to that question was super important. It's just the cord. So that's really where we're going. That's really what we're going to be looking at today. One thing that I really wanted to get across to folks is that motion doesn't happen without emotion. So there is a thought process and there is a feeling and there is a physiological event that happens to trigger a feeling like fear or rage or joy or seeking, all kinds of different things. But there's something behind that, and helping folks understand what that is and why that's important. That's what this book's all about. And it was, it was a labor of love getting this done, and seriously emphasis on labor on this one. And I'm going to bring my publisher on in a couple of minutes, and she's probably going to pull out how much labor was involved in that and how much hair I lost. You guys wonder why I cut my hair. Well, it's because I was pulling it out in clumps. Yeah, I'm not joking about that. It was not that great. It took me about a year to research and write. So this has been a very, very long time coming. So thank you for being here to help me celebrate, and to be interested in having to learn a little bit more about what the process was like and how it came about. So I just mentioned my publisher. Her name is Gail Woodard. She's the CEO and publisher of Dudley Court Press, who is my publisher. I heard Gail speak at the Tucson Festival of Books. Must have been 4 years ago at this point, I think 2016. And there was a sense that I was going to write a book. I wanted to do this. I needed I needed guidance. 2, I needed some courage. And 3, I needed a mentor, and I needed a guide. And it became very clear to me, listening to Gail speak, that she was the one. She was going to be able to fulfill all of those things for me. And boy, was I right. It's been a fantastic ride so far. We talked about what my goals were, personally and professionally, in writing the books, and what I wanted to bring to the world. I think it's important that you do what you love, but I think leaving something behind when you're not here is important. And I think this series of books is going to be part of that for me. So she really helped me bring these into the world. And obviously I'm quite thankful for that. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Gail Woodard. There she is. Hi, Gail.
Hello, Kate. And
Hi.
hello, everybody. Welcome to this book launch. It's so exciting. Thanks for having me, Kate.
You bet. You bet. So Gail and I kind of talked about what this would look like, and I think it's a conversation. And so Gail's got some questions that I think I hope you have some questions that you're going to ask me.
Oh,
I'm afraid to ask what they are.
Friendly questions, very friendly questions.
Okay, good. All right. Well, without further ado, go ahead and start.
All right. Well, I'm going to start by asking you. I probably asked you this question when we first met, but as you said, it was, I don't know, 4 years ago or so. But I think it would be interesting for everyone who's watching to hear how you went from being a corporate marketing professional to somehow having a passion for caring for dogs with mobility issues. You be triggered. What? Tell us about that. How did that happen?
That's a little bit of fate, a little bit of the universe, and a thing called a pink slip. So I worked in publishing for 15 years, magazine publishing, first with Inc. magazine and then with the Industry Standard in San Francisco. Was living in Boston at the time, and I moved back, got everything in the moving truck to move across the country, and 2 days later got the pink slip. So that's how I ended up in Tucson, because that's as fast as we could stop the truck. And then the second pink slip came about 4 years after that, where the second publishing company, third publishing company I was working for, decided that they wanted one person to do 4 people's job. And I said, oh my God, I hope I don't get that. And at the time I was doing volunteer work with Gabriel's Angels, which all you know that is very near and dear to my heart. We do pet therapy for kids in the cycle of violence. And I wanted to spend more time with Harley, who was my heart dog. And if any of you have been in the facility, he's the guy that's hanging right inside the door. And I finally said, you know what? You guys paid for my MBA. You're not going to let me use it. I'll use it. And, I felt I wanted to spend more time with Harley. And I realized pretty quickly that was going to translate over to other dogs. And it wasn't as a trainer. I thought it was going to be as a trainer, but that didn't happen. Sorry, too much people contact. But I wanted to spend more time with the dogs and have more impact there. And it evolved from there. Started out as canine massage therapist, added the orthopeds, orthotics, and prosthetics, then added the wheelchairs. And now we have the pool here in Tucson. And we're just kind of building from there. And it's become, how do I help the pet parents as well right now?
So I'd like to ask about how you became an expert in this field. I mean, you have an MBA, but that obviously didn't teach you too much about dog prosthetics and swimming with dogs and things like that. So tell us all how you developed your expertise that comes through so clearly in your books.
So a lot of that is experience-based. It's working with the professionals that I work with at OrthoPets and HandicapPets.com and Eddie's Wheels. Any of the manufacturers that we work with, I try to go and visit at least once every 18 months, 2 years, to check in with them and see, what's changing. And then I think the biggest piece I get is learning from every client and their dog that comes in the door. Because a problem for one dog becomes a solution for another dog. Mm-hmm. And that really is about building the arsenal. You're right. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a veterinary technician. I feel like my job is to be a translator between your veterinarian team and the pet parent. My model is built around being very high touch, and we spend an hour. Vet appointments usually last about 15 minutes. So I can talk about what I've learned. I can share things that I've learned with people on everyday management of their dog, especially things like, how do I keep their feet from dragging when they're in the cart? Or how do I keep them dry if they're incontinent? Things like that. So I'm able to answer those questions. But long version, shorter, is that it's really experience. It's really what you learn and paying it forward.
So, for those of the people in the audience who are not from Tucson or haven't been to your facility, can you just take a minute to talk about A Loyal Companion and what you do there, and how you get this experience?
Sure. So we are home to Arizona's only indoor dog pool, and if I turn my screen a little bit that way, you'll see Ronnie swimming. Um, we have a complete indoor gym, canine gym, complete pool, which pre-COVID was open to recreation as well as mobility services for dogs that needed that. We also do massage and a lot of mobility consults. So um, talking with folks um, who need some help with managing their either newly mobility challenged dog or maybe a dog they just adopted who has a mobility challenge. We're there to help them through that process. So, like I said, we're kind of that go-between. We're that place where the veterinarian can say, "Hey, go see a loyal companion," and she'll be able to answer the questions that you're asking me that I don't really know, like boots and socks and a lot of equipment. We're really here to help pet parents help their dogs move more comfortably. That's our
Like
goal.
the practical day-to-day living with a dog with challenges, you really address a lot of that. And so I understand that when we first talked about your books, what you were expressing was a desire to help more people than you could help at your
Right.
facility. And books seem to be a great way to do that, to take the knowledge you had acquired and share it broadly. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about why you're doing a series of books, and um, and what you hope, or where the ideas come from for the books that you're writing.
Um, it was supposed to just be one book, and I had I think, a very classic case of writer's block, and I think your response was, "Well, let's break it down. Let's break this down into more manageable chunks," which turned out to be genius. I mean, I don't know why I doubted that it would be, but I could be much more in depth on each of the topics now. So this was supposed to be originally one book at about, I don't know, probably 300 pages, which is what it would have ended up being. And a little knowledge about book publishing. Thank you very much. That you get to about that 125 number, a lot of folks aren't going to read past that point. So let's just get it right there. So I wanted to be manageable. All of my books you can read in about 4 hours if you wanted to read them cover to cover in one sitting. So it's very manageable in that amount of time. And by having four separate books, um, I think it really does more justice to the topic itself. I could not have gone into the detail about the emotional side of mobility without having 150 pages to do that, and that just wasn't going to happen. So that just made more sense. And I think a series makes sense as well because we can talk about, first one is Sit, Stand, Go. That's all about how do you manage your dog's environment internally, external, so outside environment, how do you travel with them. So very much about the everydays, very much about their ADLs, their activities of daily living, and how do you make that easier for them, or at least not make it harder. This one is about, obviously, the mind's impact on mobility and how that affects their movement decisions. The next one will be called, I hope, or something like this, Exercise is More Than a Walk in the Park. So that one will be more about how do you help build strength, balance, flexibility, stamina in ways that are more than just walking around the park. So there will be a lot of information on what we do in our gym here. So a lot of canine fitness. They'll have a lot about enrichment. We talk a lot about enrichment here. We have a whole room filled with toilet paper rolls here and things you can do with those, and egg cartons and tissue boxes, you name it. We've got places you can hide treats. And then the last one will be all about how to use equipment and how to use devices to help your dog get around. So that's wheelchairs, orthotics, prosthetics, equipment like help them up harnesses, things like that that really make it a whole lot easier for you to help your dog and easier for your dog to move around and be more engaged in their everyday life.
So I'd like to turn for a minute, kind of detour around to your writing process, because I'm sure some people are interested in, how do you actually do that? How do you take the knowledge and get it into a book? And every author has their own way of writing. I seem to remember that you talked to me about mind mapping and post-it notes on the wall. If I'm right, would you talk about those techniques and how did you go about writing the books so far?
So yeah, I'm very much more visual than I think any other sense. And if you're not familiar with mind mapping, it really looks like you're basically taking, okay, here's an idea here, and it relates to this one. So then there's another image. It takes the outline in your head and it puts it in a graphic form on the page. I had a great mind mapping software. It's called Mind Maple, that I was able to just drag things around. When it didn't go in that section, I just drag it and move it over there. So it made it a lot easier. And then that was for overall concepts. So once I got deeper into it, our bedroom looked like paper had exploded all over it. Sorry, Kath. So I would have, I don't know if you know about this, but they sell these really huge Post-it notes that are like 2 feet by 2 feet. So I had one of those for every chapter. And then if there was a key concept that I wanted to cover in a particular chapter, so let's say the 7 basic emotions, then that's the chapter, and then I'm going to have a Post-it for every main point that I want to have in there. And I totally geeked out and I color coded them. So if I always like to tell a story at the beginning of each of my chapters. So that's how I got into writing a few years ago, 10 years ago, I think. So I would put, what's the name of the vignette, the story that I'm going to tell that fits with this chapter. And that's going to be on a particular colored note. Or if I'm going to have a form that I'm going to create that's going to help people apply the knowledge that's in the chapter, that's in another color. And then as I get them done, I get to tick them off. So if you're a list keeper or a list maker, and I know you all do this, that if you finish a task but it wasn't on your list, yeah, I'm one of those people that writes it on the list so I can check it off. So that's basically the concept of that. So that's kind of the process. And then there's the ugly sitting in front of the screen going like, oh my God, this is not working.
Well, that leads me to this next question. Will you share maybe a couple of the real struggles that you went through in writing this book, and maybe even Sit, Stand, Go, and what you did to overcome those particular challenges?
Well, as you know, I missed a few deadlines. So that's how I overcame a couple of them. That's why this is coming out in 2020 and not 2019. But we won't go into that. So it really was, there's some self-discovery there, because there are times when you can't force words out of your fingers. You just can't. There were things I did when I decided that the keyboard, sitting in a computer, there's a lot of distraction. Oh, I better check my Facebook page just to make sure, or I better research that before I put it in there. And then all of a sudden you're out, who knows where you end up. So at one point, I was actually handwriting quite a bit of it, because handwriting means it really becomes a stream of consciousness. And I think when I do my best vignette writing, that's how it happens. I'm telling myself a story in my head and it just comes out on the page.
Yeah.
And that there's a connection between ink and paper and fingers and mind that feels much more organic and much more original. So I would do a lot of that when I really got stuck. In this particular book, I actually went and stayed at a B&B for 2 nights, 3 days, and just did nothing else. And I'll tell you, that was the hardest part, because I left the dogs. I love you, Kath. But I left the dogs at home. I didn't have any dogs. I had nothing to distract me. So all I was like, okay, that's it. And that 2 or 3 days of writing really became the foundation of what happened. Everything else was kind of just layers on top of that, but that was really the foundation.
Yeah. Good. Thanks for sharing that. I think it's really interesting to hear how different writers tackle that the keyboard, or the blank page, and how you do it. Thanks. I want to go back to the book series. The Why, or how does emotion to motion fit into the series in a in an overall way? You talked earlier, the Sit Stand Go addresses some of the very practical day-to-day things that somebody needs, and now this is to go a little deeper. I'm guessing, right? Is that what you would tell
Yeah,
people?
it is. And I think it has a very specific place because it's a question that I get a lot, but it's never asked in a way that would bring in the mind as one of the options, as one of the answers.
Mm.
So this one felt like, I mean, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's much more readily available when you're looking up, let's say my dog has, like Half Moon, has intervertebral disc disease. Okay, so he has a ruptured disc in his back. I can go and read all about that. I can find out about everything that's happening physiologically in his body and what it's causing. There was nothing that I could find that had anything to do with what was going on in his mind. Why um, why is he not wanting to cross a floor? And in fact, I think Eli is with us today, and Rocky's story was one that appears in the book. Rocky's a pretty big boy. Must be 70 pounds now, 65, something like that. And he was hesitating to jump in the car, and it's like, what is going on? But his mobility was slowly declining, um, and it came down to, he's afraid he's going to miss. This is a mental thing. The confidence is really not there, where he feels like his back legs are going to propel him up and into the vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's so much more than just physical. There's a whole other element that in my head is the other 50%. It's not 100% physical. It's 50% physical and 50% mental. And that mental 50% has just been ignored for so long, that it felt to me like it was important to take information that really was, if we're talking about Temple Grandin, she talks a lot about, she deals a lot with livestock, but making sure that they have good quality of life before they are slaughtered for the food chain. Simple things like, don't hang a yellow windbreaker on the fence that's in the chute for them to go in and get antibiotics, because that's going to scare them. They're not going to do it. And they have a right not to be afraid. So if you take that same kind of look at your dog, and how there are things that scare them as well, or maybe give them pause before they move or they take an action, that's happening all over the place with our mobility challenged dogs. And be able to apply that in a I hope easily digestible way. I think I've had people, after we talk about this during a session, say, "Oh my God, I never thought about that." And there's this, and this that's happening. So it just opens up a whole nother window on what's going on.
I think it's amazing that you've spotted this challenge for pet parents, to understand that there's another layer beneath the obvious physical layer, and to talk about it. Can you give some more examples about managing the environment? And I know you do this in the book, but maybe for today, give a couple of examples or stories of some dogs where you're managing the environment to encourage positive emotions, or limiting the negative emotions that might come up.
Okay, so one of the stories in the book is about Kit. She's a border collie. Her mobility had continued to wane. She got to the point where she didn't want to go for walks anymore. So one of the thing about mobility challenged dogs is the minute they stop moving, the minute they start going downhill further and faster. So we've got to keep them moving. We've got to keep them comfortable while they're doing that. Well, Kit was pretty specific about the fact that she was not going for a walk, even with her pack, even with her mom. So, so in discussing and talking with her mom, we found out that Kit really loves to play tug. That is her absolute favorite game. So I said, okay, well, let's move the game. So, okay, so we'll play tug in the living room, and then we'll play tug in the bedroom, and then we're going to walk out in the porch and play tug. And then I'm going to win the game, and I'm going to walk out to the front yard, and we're going to play tug. And then I'm going to walk to the mailbox, and we're going to play tug. So there was a reward there for being able to do that. So thank you, Half Moon, for chiming in. So finding that, and that particular emotion that we're working with there is something called seeking. So it's that eager anticipation. And being able to harness that and know what it is for your dog, and to be able to introduce it consistently to improve their quality of life, is very simple once you know what you're looking for and once you know what it is for your dog. Because if you offered up a tug toy to any of my dogs, they would look at you like, yeah, so what? But if you throw a treat for Half Moon, oh, he is ready to go. Let's do it. You give Helen a squeaky toy, she's all about it. And probably the same thing, squeaky toy for Kahlua as well. So it really is learning more about your dog and then taking that knowledge to make the quality of life as good as it can be.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. I'm going to take a little break here and make a pitch to everybody who's listening. Well, I know that, Kate, you're going to make a terrific offer to people to pre-order autographed copies of Emotion to Motion. But I want to just say to folks, if you love Kate and you love what she's doing for dogs, something you could do to help her is, besides buying books for all your dog-loving friends, of course, but it's to leave a review of the book, a thoughtful review on Goodreads or on Amazon. If you could do that this month, it would help Kate immensely, because those reviews influence so many buying decisions, and it's really a way to say thank you to Kate for all that she's doing for your dogs, or for many, many dogs and dog lovers. So that's my pitch to you. And I would like, Kate, to wrap up by asking you, or you told me once that you wanted to create books that had not only had information, but that had direction to help readers utilize the information, to actually absorb the knowledge and implement it in their own world with their own dogs. How do you feel you've done meeting that goal with Sit, Stand, Go and Emotion to Motion?
I think I'm close. I think there's always things that I would like to change in both of them. But I've always been one of those people that wanted to teach people how to fish. And I can do it for you, but once you leave here, you got to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And I think most important for me is making sure people understand the why behind it. I think they're more willing to actually complete it. I mean, we talk about owner compliance. That's a big veterinary term. You can tell people what to do, but they won't necessarily do it. And I think the way that you help with compliance on that is that you tell them why, and you show them why, and you show them and help them recognize what's happening in their own dog. And based on some feedback that I've gotten, I think I'm doing that. I think I'm there. Obviously, that there are different ways that we're trying to do this now. I think COVID has really pushed me to have a more digital presence, more video presence. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I think there are a lot of different ways to help people with that. I think the books are the foundation from that, and that the books became the way to kind of get my thought process where I wanted it to be, and then I can present it in very, very different ways. But I've had quite a few folks talk to me and come up and say, I never thought about doing that until I read blah, blah, blah. And that makes me feel like I'm making a difference.
Good.
I hope,
Well, I think
you are.
both of your books, I think, are so terrific. They're so warm and they're easy to read in the sense that they're approachable. That you've broken down some new ideas. Certainly, they were new ideas to me, and I'm sure to many dog owners. I love your warmth and your humor and the love that comes through in every page of your book. So it's been a real pleasure to work with you, Kate, and I'm delighted, and congratulations on the launch of Emotion to Motion.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me here today.
Thanks. And I know it was a hardship for you to stay a little bit longer with your 6-month-old grandson to be able to do this. So thanks for giving that. Thanks for giving that. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
All righty. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. As you can, I hope tell, Gail and I have a great relationship, and we've worked together for a long time now. And that was kind of fun for me. So I hope it was fun for you too. I thought I would just read a little bit from Emotion to Motion, just to give you some flavor of what's in there. This particular section is the beginning of chapter 6. So Motion to Motion is really kind of broken down into 2 sections. The first one is information on what those basic emotions are, how they play into things like pain. There are two chapters on pain in this book, and those were 2 things that I really, really wanted to get in, and they needed to have a home. So the second half is really about how do you apply what you know or what you've read about emotions. How do you apply that in your everyday life with your dog to improve their quality of life? So I'm now going to embarrass myself by reading from my own book. So here we go. This is called She Likes to Move It, Move It. And yes, that's based on Dottie. In previous chapters, I've focused on how your dog weighs her feelings and then behaves in order to remain in her comfort zone, meeting her basic needs while avoiding and limiting pain along the way. But she uses this cost-benefit analysis for something more than surviving. This something more is pleasure, eager anticipation, amusement, wonder, bliss, and happiness. In short, it's joy. Joy is that special ingredient in your dog's life that makes it worth getting out of bed. Joy is found not only in structured engagement activities, but in the small, spontaneous moments as well. It could be rediscovering an old toy that had been pushed under the couch, burrowing deep into a fleece blanket for a nap, lying in the sun, sniffing out changes in the air, even nibbling on a chew toy. Your dog's joy can be found everywhere if you look for it. Seek and you shall find joy. Of all the basic emotions your dog experiences, seeking is the one you have the most opportunity to shape, to maintain, and or improve your dog's quality of life. She doesn't have to be an athlete or high drive dog to benefit from activities, both planned and serendipitous, that engage her mind and her body at whatever level she is able. Seeking isn't about the food or the ball or the tug toy. Yes, there's pleasure in those rewards, but without the thrill of the hunt, the anticipation in the chase, or the intense curiosity while solving the puzzle, no appetite exists to move toward them. Seeking is about the anticipation, the build-up to the reward. Let's look at an example from the human world, a Thanksgiving feast. Think of the smells of delicious food being prepared, the sound of joyful laughter and conversation, the sight of family or old friends, and the feel of warm hugs. A central focus of these type of events is food, featuring recipes handed down through generations and recreated once a year for this celebration. Think about the pleasure you feel when you smell the aroma of fresh bread in the oven, sauces simmering on the stove, casseroles bubbling on the trivets, and festive pies calling to you through flaky crusts and sweet whipped toppings. It's all part of the Thanksgiving experience. The anticipation of the moment when you can finally eat all of those wonderful foods brings joy that's separate from the partaking of the meal itself. This is seeking. That state of expectation can last for hours, while if your house is anything like mine, the actual consumption, the reward, can last fewer than 20 minutes. Thanksgiving isn't about the meal itself. It's about the joy you experience in the process of celebrating the holiday. Yes, each bite tastes good, but the prospect of eating that bite is just as wonderful. So, what does this have to do with your dog? I'm not asking you to make every meal like Thanksgiving for your dog. Rather, I'm suggesting you consider creating opportunities to increase the joy she feels in her life every day. Let's stay with the food example and look at your dog's meal. She needs good, nutritious food to fuel her body and keep her healthy. What if you fueled her mind as well by creating an opportunity for her seeking emotion to shift into high gear? For example, rather than pouring her food into a bowl and just letting her eat, try something more challenging. Sprinkle the meal onto a flat towel, roll it up, and ask her to solve the puzzle of finding her breakfast. You can take that same find it type exercise and sprinkle kibble in the grass in the yard or onto a snuffle mat. Slow feeders, food puzzles, and other canine enrichment activities emphasize the searching and the solving. You're building anticipation while dousing the brain with feel good chemicals and creating joy. Clearly, the meal is about the food, is about more than the food, it's about the experience. The same is true with non food related activities. Your dog loves your company. What if you made your time together more fun and encouraged intentional mobility at the same time? Remember playing hide and seek as a kid? Play it with your dog. This game asks her to get up from one position, move with intention around the space to find you. It encourages her to practice her functional mobility of transitioning from one position to another, walking, standing, maybe climbing a step or two, crossing different floor textures, etc. She'll love the seeking, and you are the reward. So that's from, like I said, that's from chapter 6, and that's just a preview of some of the things that you'll learn how to do in emotion to motion. Now, it doesn't go into specific enrichment activities. What it does is it breaks down how you can build your own. So there'll be more enrichment activities listed in broken down in exercises more than a walk in the park. But this one was more about how do you use the things that you recognize about your own dog. How do you use those to create games, activities, anything that improves or maintains her quality of life? Okay, I'm going to go into my shameless self-promotion section here in a second. But I just want to let you know that if you have questions or if you'd like me to answer any questions or comment on anything, please just throw them in the comment section here, and I'll pop them up on the screen and we can talk about those. So go ahead and ask any questions if you'd like. But now let me tell you about the book and its availability. I've seen a couple of you have already gone and found out that Amazon has the book for just 99 cents right now, which is great. If you're worried about that, don't worry. I get paid the same amount as if it were selling for $4.95, which is the list price for the digital. It's a great opportunity for you to get the information now in a digital format while you're waiting for that print copy to come out. And that'll be coming out October 20th. So if you like it, if you buy the book, you like it, please, please, please write a review. Those help a lot. Amazon looks at those and they use those in their marketing. I don't know if you are familiar with how Amazon works, but they actually select products to be part of their marketing campaigns to very segmented groups of their customer population. So having a lot of good reviews moves my book up into have an opportunity to be part of some of those promotions. So I would love it if you could do that. If you go and you look at Sit Stand Go, if you don't have a digital version of Sit Stand Go and you'd like to have one, for a very limited time, those are at a free download right now. And again, same thing, Amazon still pays the same royalty to the author and the publisher. So if you'd like to have a digital version of Sit Stand Go, now is the time to go grab it at Amazon. I am also doing a pre-order option for you here on the launch event. I will have, let me pop this up here. Here's the address. So this is a bit.ly address, which means it gets shortened and you get to tell them what the end of it is. So you just type it in exactly as it looks right there. And that will take you to a pre-order page. And that pre-order page is going to look like this. Okay. So if you would like to pre-order copies. I should have them before the October 20 release date. I will also be signing those if you'd like. If you don't want my chicken scratch in the front, that's okay too. I will not be offended. I can barely read my own handwriting anyway, so not a big deal. And if you are local and you'd like to pick them up at the office, you're going to want to pick this section, this option right here. And hopefully I didn't just make it go somewhere. I didn't. Good. You're going to choose the one that has the maroon star that says local pickup only. If you'd like to have that shipped to you, or if you'd like to have it shipped to anyone else, you're going to want to pick the shipped option over here on the left. And also today, I'm also going to be offering access to one of our new online courses as a thank you for pre-ordering books today, and we'll be sending you a link for that. The course is called Not Just a Pretty Face: How to Take Helpful Photos and Videos for Your Veterinary Team. I talk a lot about this. Folks will send me a video and say, how do you think he's moving? And in my head, I want to write back and say, I don't know, I can't tell because the video is so bad, but I don't, of course. So this is going to show you how to do that. What's important, what veterinarians are looking for, what your vet team is looking for when you're taking those videos and hoping that those will help with the diagnosis or anything else like that. So that course is normally $29. We're going to be giving that as a thank you to anyone that pre-orders. If you want to do that today, I would appreciate that. So again, this is your pre-order page. There's my little half moon buddy with a big smile. And you have the two options. Remember, if you want to pick it up locally, you want to pick the one with the maroon star. And when you get to the checkout section, there will be special instructions. So if you want books made out in a particular way, please just tell me exactly how you'd like those signed, and we'll get that taken care of. Okay, all right. So I had a question from Susie. Understanding emotion applies to dogs not having mobility issues. Do you ever plan on expanding your focus? That's a good question. And sadly, no. I think everything that's in emotion to motion applies to a dog, whether they have a mobility issue or not. So if we think about Maddie, what makes her decide she's going to jump on the couch? What makes her decide she's going to chase a lizard or a bunny rabbit? All of the same elements still apply. She's still working with the same 7 basic emotions. So we're looking at seeking, which is that eager anticipation, fear, anxiety, rage, panic and grief, which is really more like sadness and loneliness in this particular case, play, which is like a social joy, care, which is like a nurturing, and lust, of course. All of those still apply whether the dog has a mobility issue or not. And you'll see a lot of really good trainers understand that process, and they'll use that in how you keep your dog under threshold. So let's say you have a dog who doesn't do well around other dogs. They get too excited, so they surpass their threshold of what they're able to manage without getting too overly excited where they're just overcome with that. So it all applies the same way. So how do you keep them under threshold? How do you keep them from going into fear or rage? How do you keep them out of those spaces? Or if you can't keep them out of there, how do you keep it lower? So it does apply. Will I get into that? No, I'm not a good trainer. I know enough to get myself in trouble and to maybe train myself out of a wet paper bag, but that's about it. I'm really focused on the mobility piece and why it goes from why mobility challenged dogs do what they do. So thanks for the question, Susie. Appreciate that. So does anybody else have any other questions? See if we have anybody else popping up. I want to put this one up from Irene, who has a great blog, by the way. Irene, please make sure you type out the name of your blog, if you would, please, and put that in the comments. Thanks. I appreciate that you like the book. Bernie and Lizzie had come and swim with us pre-COVID, and we worked a lot with Irene on creating enrichment activities for her two doodles, and that was that was in some ways a challenge because one of her dogs has, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Addison's, so you have to be careful with you can't just stick to food games, so we had to be much more creative in how we did that. And I'm glad you liked the introduction to the chapter that you're talking about here. But there is I appreciate your support, Irene, a lot. Yeah, so I hope I did that justice. Let's Eli has a question here. Does the older dog get the effect of the emotion to motion principle? So I think I want to clarify your question. I think it's, do they understand that what they're thinking motivates what they're doing? I think the short answer to that is I don't think we do, and I don't think dogs do. I think there is, because the emotion is that first level. So the emotion is actually a physiological event. The feeling you have after that, that's the thing you recognize. I feel sad. I feel mad. That's secondary. The thing that creates that is the physiological change. Let's think about fear. So your pupils dilate, your breathing may increase, your blood pumps faster, you're prepared for fight, flight, freeze. So all of those things, that's all triggered by a physiological event. I don't think so, but I do think they are familiar with the concept, whether they know what it is, of confidence, and whether they have it or not. So they recognize the fear of missing the jump to get in the car. They recognize the fact that pain comes from missing that jump. So I think that's all they need to recognize. One of the stories I tell when I do my speeches is on this particular topic is, okay, everybody, I know you're sitting on a really wobbly folding chair, but I'd like you to turn around, stand up on that chair. And I get a lot of giggles, like, oh my God, I'm not going to stand on that chair. That's a fear reaction. And that's also history of behavior. You know what has happened and what could happen if you step on that chair. In the same way that Rocky knows that if he goes and tries to jump into that car, he might miss because he doesn't trust the fact that his back end or his back limbs are going to be able to do what he thinks they're going to do or what they had been able to do to propel him up and into the vehicle. So it's really the fear of the pain that's coming if he misses. So I think at a very base level, they do understand that. Let's see, we had some other questions over here. Yeah, so someone asked if we're going to be leaving the leaving the video launch on the channel. Yeah, so if you had such a good time, you want to come back and watch it again, I'd love that. Just leave a comment for me if you would. And but yeah, it's going to be staying up here. It'll be part of our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/a loyal companion. So it'll definitely be up there. So yeah, so we have any other questions? Anybody have anything, any comments they'd like to make? Just remember, if it's a nasty comment, it doesn't go up on the screen. Just kidding. It might, you never know. Anyway, okay. Oh, Tom, this is very sweet. Oh, Scout and Gabby, thank you so much. It's great to be here with everybody today. Oh, we have somebody from Canada. Yay, Canada. Yeah, Izzy is one of our, Izzy does not fly down from Canada to swim with us every week, I promise. But yeah, we've been swimming with her dog and her mom's dog for a very long time. So thanks for checking in from Canada. I really appreciate it. Awesome. Okay. All right. So does anybody have any questions? Anything else? It's been really awesome to be here with you today. And Just got to send a little shout out to my girl Hella, who does her best to be kind to me as we're swimming in the pool. Hi, Stacy. It's been great to be here with you today. I promised that I wouldn't go more than an hour, and I'm definitely not going to hold you much longer. I just want to say thank you for your support, and not just buying my book or coming to the facility. Many of you, in fact, everybody that I see on the screen right now, has been so emotionally supportive of a loyal companion and of me, especially as we've worked our way through COVID. And it's been a real challenge, and we've been tired and we've been busy. Thank goodness. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. But we could not, and I could not, get through every day without seeing what I call my dogs, and not just my 3, but all of your dogs coming in, spending time with us, and knowing that sometimes we're the only place you're going. You're not going out to dinner. You're not going shopping. You're not doing anything. You're just coming to see us and going back home, and we appreciate that, and really we treasure that, and I treasure that specifically. So thank you so much for being here with me today and celebrating. So if you have an adult beverage or otherwise anywhere sitting around, I have water. Thank you so much. I appreciate for your support, and have a good rest of your Sunday. And I hope to see and hear from a lot of you later. So thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Appreciate it. Bye.